You're watching ChillyBoy Productions. I'm Larry ChillyBoy Chillson, and this is my review for The Idea of You. Now, before we get into this review, make sure to go ahead and click that subscribe button down below so that you can chill with me on each and every one of my latest videos. The Idea of You is a 2024 romantic comedy from director Michael Showalter, coming exclusively to streaming on Amazon Prime May 2nd. The Idea of You follows a 40-year-old mom who begins an unexpected romance with a 24-year-old boy band singer. The film stars Anne Hathaway and Nicholas Galitzine. So the Idea of You actually had its premiere at South by Southwest Film Festival in March before it got some theatrical screenings here in April, all leading up to its streaming exclusive premiere on Prime Video May 2nd. So we've had a lot of ways to watch this in a movie theater for a film that won't be shown in movie theaters, unfortunately. But as a Nicholas Galitzine stan these days, I was so excited for The Idea of You, particularly because I loved his last R-rated rom-com that went straight to Prime, Red, White, and Royal Blue last year. So throw him in another R-rated rom-com for Prime, add in Anne Hathaway, and I was completely sold. Not to mention, they released one of the songs from the fictional boy band August Moon, titled Dance Before We Walk, a little while ago, and I instantly put it on my Spotify playlist. I love it. I think it is a freaking bop. So I had some music to get me hyped. I had those trailers. I had the beauty of Nicholas Galitzine, all keeping me sustained until I got the opportunity to watch the film tonight. And in saying all that, I haven't read the book, so I don't have that background knowledge. I apologize. And rom-coms. Me and rom-coms have a fun little relationship. For everyone that I think is fun and enjoyable, there's at least 3 or 4 that come out that I just don't like. So admittedly, it's a hard genre for me to be won over by. But ultimately, I found The Idea of You to be enjoyable. It's certainly not without its flaws, and it's not as good as last year's Red, White, and Royal Blue, but it's certainly a lovely watch for a romantic comedy that I think fans of the genre are going to love. So let's go ahead and talk about the positives first. Well, far and away, the biggest positives for this film are our 2 leads. Anne Hathaway is predictably fantastic in this film. She is so authentic and genuine. She brings real gravitas to this character, and she's having fun. She just lights up the screen with that megawatt smile, those big doe eyes that she looks so lovingly with. Everything about Hathaway's performance is gold in this movie. And then Nicholas Galitzine, my new fave. Oh, he's amazing. Also has some beautiful big doe eyes. I've talked about it many a times at this point, but he has such a perfect pouty face, and it is used to amazing effect here. But he just oozes the charisma and charm, the youthful bliss of being this boy band singer with a heart of gold. Not to mention, he is quite the singer that suited the boy band sound so well. Again, I've been bopping to this music that I've known since it got released to Spotify. And the music itself is all a bop. But more so than their individual performances, it's the chemistry. Oh, and that really is kind of what a good romantic comedy hinges on, right? If our 2 leads don't have good chemistry, it's pretty much impossible to get down with the rest of the film. And thankfully, Anne Hathaway and Nicholas Galitzine have amazing chemistry together. You are rooting for them. You enjoy all of these lovely moments they spend together. Oh, they were great as a pairing on screen. Then we have the music, the boy band aspect I loved. Obviously, being a 90s kid, boy bands, hello. And the music was great. I thought the performances were really fun. The staging was super authentic to like a good boy band concert. There's some parts in that we'll talk about momentarily that weren't so great, but by and large, I bought the boy band factor. I also enjoyed the conflicts that we get here. I think it's nice to not just gloss over every conflict that would arise and try to tackle these head on. Now, I do think they get a little bit lost in the sauce in that third act, trying to deal with and work through a conflict, but overall, I'm glad they didn't just overlook the age gap thing and the double standards, but also the interesting dynamic of such a large age gap. Also, how that affects everybody else. So, then what doesn't work so well when it comes to the idea of you? Well, it definitely falls into a lot of those rom-com pitfalls that really keep me from loving most rom-coms. First of all, I think this would have soared if there was a steadier hand behind the camera. Now, we all know Michael Showalter can direct a film. Obviously, he's helped direct people to Oscars just recently with Tammy Faye and Jessica Chastain. But I think he was trying to be authentic with some of the camera, and I was just like, stop. Put the camera on a damn tripod and let us just see this scene where they're holding each other and don't like shake us and move us about. The camera work, by and large, I found to be a bit off putting. The cinematography is that kind of usual bright cinematography of a romantic comedy, of a streaming film, I should say, really. And really, the cinematography and the direction paired to do some really kind of cringy stuff, like these side by sides that they do. There's this one like phone montage where they're finding different tabloids. It was a choice, and it swings from like, IMAX style cringy gimmicks like that to actually a few beautiful shots here. The entire film would have just been elevated to that next level if the camera work and the direction had more of a vision and stayed consistently good throughout. Next, it's the format. It is here, except I think they add in more conflict than usual with these romantic comedies. And they add in some realism, which of course I appreciate. Now, this is not really a negative for me because I kind of went in ready for it, pretty much the same way I did with this film as well. But if you're not ready for it, this will likely be a negative for you. There is some definite wish fulfillment going on here, some rom-com lensed fan fiction style writing. I don't think it ever went over the top or cringy. I thought it was fun and it worked, but just be aware, that's the kind of romantic comedy you're in for. But I have to touch on these costumes. What was really going on with the costuming department? Thankfully, Anne Hathaway's designer was helping her out because she looked good for the most part. She looked great. The hair sometimes was a mess, but particularly near the end, I mean, they really gave her a glow up. But what in the world was Nicholas Galitzine wearing for about 90% of this film? What were these boy band costumes? Every time they were on stage, they specifically show a stylist. She's a character in this film, not a big one by any means, but they make sure to point out he has a personal stylist and he looks a mess almost the entire time, outfit wise. The boys all look a mess. They don't match. There's no cohesion. There's not costumes. It looks like they just rolled through a TJ Maxx and ran on stage with whatever stuck to their bodies. It was a hodgepodge mess. I was like, what kind of boy band costumes are these? But overall, I had a nice time with the idea of you. It's not one that's going to particularly stay with me as we move throughout the year, but it's an enjoyable watch. I chuckled. I think they get some of the comedy really right. I think they get a little bit bogged down in some of the drama a bit too much. That really hurt the pacing of the first act, actually, as well. And I also think it does take a while to get off the ground. The first act is quite slow, pacing wise. But by and large, it's an easy, breezy, wish fulfillment, fun, romantic comedy that has great chemistry at the center of it, makes you root for this couple that you don't know if you're really going to be rooting for when we get things started. But the characters are lovable enough and the actors do a good enough job to overcome some of the thin aspects of the screenplay. So if you enjoy romances and if you enjoy romantic comedies, I definitely think that this is worth streaming. Once it hits Amazon Prime on May 2nd, I actually think it's a really solid streaming film by and large. So give it a watch. Who knows? It may surprise you. But if rom-coms are not for you, then you can skip it because it won't surprise you. It will give you what you're expecting. It's not going to win you over. So that is my review for The Idea of You. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead, click that like button down below and subscribe to the channel so that you are always up to date on all of my latest videos. Also, join in on the discussion. Are you excited to see The Idea of You? Or have you also had the opportunity to check it out? Let me know all of your thoughts either in the comment section down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter. I love you all so much for your continued support. Mwah! Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.